Hello, welcome to another episode of Learning with Okiki in my keyboard journey. Today I'll be discussing on SQL queries. So what we are going to be talking about in this video, I will be showing you what it is to query a database and some of the keywords to query a database and running a demo. So first and foremost, what does it mean to query a database? What it is? What does it take to query a database? Querying a database actually means that you want to retrieve data from a particular database based on some particular or a certain criteria. So it is a way whereby a user is questioning the data that has been stored in the database, whereby the database itself returns an answer. It gives you an answer based on the form of the set of data that you are already asking about, that you already specify in your query. When you talk of querying a database, it is more of you requesting for data that is being sent to that particular database, and the database is responding to you in the form of a response with respect to the data that the database already what that it's already entered. So the result of the query can be used to display information on your screen or print as a report or to perform a specific task. So when it comes to the keyword that we use in database, these keywords are used in a query for a database and it depends on the specific database management system. And the language used to communicate with it also varies. So the most widely used language in querying database is the SQL, the structured query language, which is a SQL language. And some of the common keywords used are what I have displayed on my screen, which is the select, the from, the where, the group by, the having keyword, the order by keyword, the join keyword, the union. Basically there are other aspects or there are other keywords used in querying a database, but these are just a few which I have displayed in your screen right now. So let's jump right in. What we are going to be discussing in this particular series is I'll be walking you through how to go about creating or working with a database whereby you are trying to like send a query and database is going to be responding to with respect to the data that you have on your database. So I have this other file. This schema is showing the tables that we have in our database. This other sheet is showing the information, the data that we have with respect to each column on that particular database. So the database is this one. It is called the restaurant database. So this restaurant database contains the data of this schema and the data of the seed itself. So we have it incorporated into, let me open the seed as well. Yes. So we have this seed data and we have this schema table. We have them incorporated into this restaurant database. It's because I am accessing it using Replit. That's why you have it displayed in this format. So let's jump right in. What we are going to be discussing is we are going to be seeing how to query our database and we are going to be seeing the response on our console right here. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to try this count each of the table that we have on our database. How do we go about that? We are going to select the restaurant, then we are going to count each of the tags that you have there. So I have my query. Let me move this animation down here. So I have my query already. I have it copied here. So when I run it, it's going to tell me, okay, for the restaurants count, we have 20 restaurants. For the tags count, we have 20 tags. Let me see if I can bold this a little bit. For the restaurant tags, we have 32 counts. So for the review count, we have 207 review. So let's jump into the next part, which is trying to see what's a record of each table. What a record of each table, what they look like. Yeah. So what I did was to comment out the very first line of code and to rerun this other part. So let's run it now and see what you have on the console. So this one is telling us that each of the record on each table, how does it look like? So the very first one, since we have the column restaurant name, we have the column ID, and we have the column name. So we have the very first restaurant, which is ID1, and its name is Jibo. We have the tag, ID, and the name. So the very first tag is African, it has the name African. And we have this one as well. So all of these query that we have on this other part of my code, which is the editor, is giving me the response with respect to what I have queried on the console right here. So let's jump onto the third part, which is this. So let's see what this one it's have in stock for us. That is, we want to see the restaurant name on the ID4. Okay, so the next one we have here, and I have comment out the previous one as well. We want to see the reviews that we have for each of the restaurants on ID4. So let's run this one. It's coming up. Okay, yeah, there we have it. So it says this first one, the carnival restaurant, has 4 rating. This one has 5 rating. That's why we have this name, which is the colon. Then we have this rating, which is as well the colon. From here they said select restaurant name and select reviews.rating. So that means we only need these 2 columns from our database. So that's why we have it this way as well. So we'll move on to the next one, which is trying to run this other part of the code and see what this one also has in store for us. So there we have this one as well. So this other line of code is going to tell us the average value of all of this rating that we already did from the previous query. And what we only needed is just the restaurant name and another column telling us the average of the rating. So let's run this one and see what we have. So you see, we have the name. What's the name of the restaurant? The Carnival Restaurant. Then what's the average of the rating? Is this. That means if you calculate all of the average, all of the rating that we have here, and you try to find the average, then you're going to see that the average is this particular value. So let's move on to the next one, which is this other part of the code, and see what this one also means, and see what is going to return for us as a result. Okay, this other line of code, it's telling us to it's going to return the name of colon on the restaurant, then the average of each of the restaurant. But in this case, we want to make use of there's something called the foreign keys and the primary keys. We are trying to join some of the foreign keys that you have in other restaurants. Now that you have this repeat of restaurant ID, that means it wants to like see every other reviews that we have on every other restaurant name tag that we have there. Instead of, the initial one is just telling us the restaurant on ID4, which is the Carnival Restaurant. This one also returns the restaurant on ID4, which is the Carnival Restaurant. But this one is giving us all of the restaurants that we have in the particular database. Let's run and see what you have. So we have this Bay Megalin restaurant, we have this Coco restaurant. You also have the Carnival Restaurant there. I think we should do. Here you go. The Carnival Restaurant. Yes, which is on ID4 on the database itself. So we have all other restaurants as well, alongside with the Carnival that we've been working with, which is on ID4 ever since. So we move on to the next one, which is this other line of code. Let's run it and see what it has in store for us. Okay, in this other line of code, what it's actually doing, it wants to return, it wants to work on the name colon on the restaurant, the tag colon on the restaurant, by joining it to the restaurant tag. So here we are going to have two column turned, I guess. So which is the restaurant tag and join tag itself. So let's see. So we have this name, then we have this other name, which is post colon. So it is joining from this other restaurant. I think it has an ID, which is restaurant ID 5. Where restaurants dot ID 5 coming. Okay, you know what? Let me uncomment this previous line of code and see what the other line is, to see what the Lord and row, what it is actually talking about. So let's run it. Okay, yeah, there we have it. We have the Lord and row. Probably this Lord and row falls under the restaurant ID 5. So what connection do we have with this healthy and this fusion that we have here? So here the line of code is easier to explain this time. So what it's actually doing is it's picking this restaurant name and the tag name, which tells what you have on this particular column is the restaurant name. And what you have on this other column is the tag name. Did you get it? So what is it now joining? It is joining between the restaurant tag, it is joining it on the restaurant ID with this foreign key, then it is joining on the tag to this other foreign key. That means we have this restaurant, the enroll, these two, the Lord enroll here. We have it as what? As the restaurant name, the two restaurant name. Then we have this healthy and fusion, which is the restaurant tag, the tag name itself. That means they have two, they are connected to the tag name. This healthy and the fusion from the tag name is being connected to what? To the Lord and Road restaurant. I believe that one is clear like that. And we have this last one. So let's run this last one to see what it also entails in our code. Okay, yeah, there we are. So I have commented out the previous line of code that we have. So this is the last part of this code, basically. So what is this last part? What is it actually doing? It wants to return the tag name and count how many times does that tag name appear on the restaurant database. And there you have it. That means you have this name, which is the tag name on the colon, on the restaurant colon. Then we are counting each of the tag name. How many times do they appear? The African tag appears 7 times, the international tag appears 3 times, and all of this as well. So what we are going to do next is to uncomment all of these codes and run everything at once, just to see, just to see what you have in the line of code. Okay, so I have uncommented all of the code. Now let me run everything at once, just to see what you have in store. I believe you all see. So if you watch this video from the beginning to end, you're going to see that these are everything that we explained in the course of this video. So thank you for your time, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you.